Hi, everyone, and welcome to the abutters meeting for 313 Old Colony Avenue, Haze LLC. We'll get started at 6:05 so people have a chance to join. Thank you so much. Everyone will get started in about 3 minutes. Thank you so much. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Anna White, the Mayor's Liaison to South Boston. Thank you for joining us tonight. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Tonight, I will be facilitating the statutorily required cannabis community outreach meeting. This is an application by Haze LLC retail recreational store to be operated at the address of 313 Old Colony Avenue. Please note that no decisions are being made tonight. This is just the statutory community meeting required by the city and state before moving on to the Cannabis Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals. The proposal then needs to go through a state process before it will be able to open for business. There will be time for a Q&A and comments at the end of the presentation. Please wait until the presentation is over before asking questions. There is also an open comment period, meaning that if you do not get called on tonight or you think of questions that have not been answered, you can reach out to myself or the project team and we'll work to get you that information. I ask that all questions be directed toward the applicant and myself only. The applicant will answer all questions related to their proposal to the best of their ability, and I will answer questions specific to the city's process. If I am unable or the applicants are unable to answer a question tonight, we will follow up with you after this meeting to get that information to you. With that, I will turn it over to the project team for the presentation, and then I will facilitate the Q&A right afterwards. I will go over how to raise hands at that time. Thank you so much for joining us. Colonel, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you. Okay, can you see my screen, Anna?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Colonel Booth. I am from Haze of South Boston. We are doing business as Simplicity Dispensary. And we are proposing a retail cannabis dispensary at 313 Old Colony Avenue in South Boston. The team consists of myself, Colonel Booth, Marcus Johnson Smith, Michael Pyers, Akeem Raphael, and Michael Ortal. Just a little overview of our core missions and values. At Simplicity Dispensary, we encourage diversity in hiring. Our group is a 100% minority-owned group. Diversity in ownership leads to diversity in hiring. There is a disproportionately low amount of people of color that are being hired as employees in the marijuana industry across the state. We feel that diverse ownership leads to diverse hiring, and that is one of our core mantras. We're looking to pursue excellence in business operations. Collectively, we have well over 20 years of retail experience between the group. Michael Pyers and Marcus Smith have 10 years operating a retail smoke shops in and around Boston. Michael Ortal has roughly 10 years operating retail stores in the California area. I've been in the retail restaurant industry for 5 years. I've owned a few small retail restaurants. We provide outstanding customer service. That is really why we have been able to get to this point. We all have successful businesses in our own right, and that the core of that is our outstanding customer service. Becoming an A+ compliant cannabis operators. Compliance is the core of my skill set. I've been in the cannabis industry here. I started in 2016 and as part of a company called Holistic Health Group. And so I've been well-versed in the regulatory world in the Massachusetts industry here for 7+ years now. We look to serve as a valuable community servants. Part of this presentation today is to talk about ways that we can better serve the community in and around South Boston. The founders and equity owners of the group, myself, Colonel Booth, I am the co-founder and former cultivation director of Holistic Health Group Incorporated. That is a vertically integrated Massachusetts-based cannabis company. I've helped design and manage the 34,000 square foot cannabis facility, which includes outdoor cultivation, greenhouse cultivation, hydrocarbon extraction, edibles manufacturing, and retail sales. Mike and Marcus are both experienced retail owner-operators and brand marketers with over 20 years combined experience and hold retail cannabis licenses in Cambridge, Boston, and Brockton. Myself and Marcus are both founding members of the Massachusetts Cannabis Business Association, which is a cannabis trade group of owners, operators, and executive staff. This is the team here. Currently, there are about 57 host community agreements in the greater Boston area. This yellow area represents where we are. As you can see, South Boston is underserved in regards to marijuana dispensaries. Dispensaries now are typically neighborhood-based dispensaries. No longer are you seeing folks driving from Fenway to South End to stand in line, or go to Brookline to stand in line at Netta. Dispensaries are more neighborhood serving businesses at this point. And a brief overview of the project. Again, it's a retail cannabis dispensary at 313 Old Colony Avenue. The dispensary name will be Simplicity Dispensary. The mantra of Simplicity Dispensary is really cannabis made simple. The focus is providing a simple method of coming into a store, purchasing product, and having a consistent experience. We currently hold a lease, what we call a licensing lease. Essentially, we've secured a lease that allows us to apply for the license and pursue the license. And if we are successful, then we will be negotiating a long-term lease. We will be negotiating a 5-year lease with 2 5-year extensions. Our group is consistent. It consists of economic empowerment and social equity designees. Our group, again, we're completely minority owned. These designations mean that our group has been directly impacted negatively by the war on drugs. We anticipate opening the store roughly sometime early 2023. The process consists of securing the local agreements, which would be the host community agreement. Then we would have to go through the zoning and planning and special permitting, and then we would go through the state licensing process with the Cannabis Control Commission. The floor plan, this is a high level overview of the design of the space. We have roughly 3,000 square feet. And the few points here that we want to note based on our discussions with the Andrew Square Civic Association previously, we do have a security area here, which is a first and only access point into the property. There is a security vestibule, which would require a security officer to check an ID of a customer and then buzz them in to allow them to walk into the dispensary. Customers are not allowed to walk directly into the sales floor. We also will be having a security officer that is outside, which will be regulating the flow of traffic from our customers driving to the property and customers walking in and around the exterior of the building. We want to make sure that none of our customers are double parking right there at the light on Old Colony, right at the rotary. We want to make sure that none of our customers are using cannabis around the exterior of the building, throwing trash down, loitering, all of those things that are essentially happening now on this block. We will make sure that we have somebody outside that is making sure that does not continue. We also have self-service kiosks. The way that the store is designed is to make sure that customers flow into the store quickly. They can do self-service if they're comfortable with them ordering online, or they can check in with a bud tender and learn about the different products that we have to offer. And they can exit through the curved area of the building. We'll be adding a door on the front. The flow is pretty much circular. Customers come in and they flow out. And we have, just to note, we've since changed the location of our shipping and receiving. It will no longer be on this end of the building. There is a fenced-in alleyway on the side of the property with a door that accesses our space. We will now be doing pickups and deliveries of product through this way, and pickup of cash proceeds through this fenced-in secure off-street area. And this is the current parking lot. The 300-foot radius of the property shows that there are no other dispensaries in the area. There are no schools, kindergarten through 12th grade. There are no potential issues that would prevent us from being able to apply for this license. We surpass all of the buffer requirements that is set by the state and the city of Boston. So key assets in progress thus far. We have an agreement to essentially hold the property. Currently, there is a pizzeria that's operating inside the space. The pizzeria will be exiting the property upon us successfully securing our licensor. We are developing our building plans. We have a preliminary floor plan, and we are going to be flushing that out a little bit more to make some changes based on the pickup and delivery component. Product development. Simplicity will also be owning a manufacturing facility in Grafton, Massachusetts. The value to that is a lot of the product packaging. So breaking down large products into smaller packaging will be done outside of South Boston. It will be done in Grafton. That allows us to just have a smaller quantity of product on hand to help speed up the flow of the business, as well as to make sure that we don't have too much valuable inventory inside the building. Retail experience, the founders collectively, we have 4 retail locations that we have equity interest in. We have 4 dispensaries essentially that will be opening across the state. We have proven to not only local municipalities, but to the Cannabis Control Commission that we possess the knowledge, the financial wherewithal, and the motivation and determination to open dispensaries in the state of Massachusetts. We've been funding this entire operations internally. And once we reach the provisional licensure status, then we will be securing investments from outside parties to help with the build out and operations. Timeline of activities. So we essentially estimate that, we have the outreach meeting today on the 28th. We have to be awarded a host community agreement. We would then submit an application to the Cannabis Control Commission, and they would review the application, submit some requests for more information. Once we can get through that process, we're then we then are what's called provisionally licensed, which will allow us to raise our funding and then execute the construction build out. We would then go through final inspections, and at some point we would have commenced operations. We're hoping to have the dispensary open sometime in June of 2023, if all goes well. Community concerns. So as I mentioned, we've had discussions with the Andrew Square Civic Association. We've met with folks that live in the community, and we know that there are always concerns whenever it comes to a marijuana dispensary opening in any municipality or any area, and we want to address those concerns up front. So there's some major myths that folks think will happen if we are able to open a dispensary. The myth number one is that cannabis is a gateway drug. Essentially, that if we sell cannabis to folks in the community, that it will lead to them using harder drugs, such as heroin or other various things. That is a fallacy. That is not anything that is factual. Cannabis actually leads to a reduction in overall hard drug usage. Myth 2 would be that cannabis dispensary would lead to more adolescents usage. A 15-year study analyzed over 1 million responses to the CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Survey and found that overall there was a 27% reduction in teenagers' ability to procure cannabis. 27% overall reduction in a proportion of adolescents reporting would be very easy for them to obtain marijuana. Myth number 3 is that cannabis would lead to increased crime. A review of the national crime data sets between 2000 and 2019 found no evidence of increased property crimes or violent offenses in states that legalize marijuana. There are several dispensaries that are open all around Boston. There have been very minimal crime or violent activity inside any of these dispensaries. And also, given the fact that we have to provide security cameras inside the dispensary as well as outside of the building, that having security cameras, alarm systems, redundancies on alarm systems, key card access to all the doors, that leads to a drop off in crime in and around the dispensary. We will have staffed on-site security. We will make sure that we have a security officer inside the building that will be flowing floating inside and outside of the property during all business hours. Building security, we will have 24-hour indoor and outdoor video surveillance systems and carded entry for each facility door. Product security, all the product will be dropped off during off hours, essentially hours where there is low traffic in the community. The very early morning hours typically is when we usually would coordinate deliveries. Youth diversion, so no persons under the age of 21 will be allowed entry. We do have the security officer that will be at the front entrance, checking IDs prior to customers entering the building, and the bud tenders will be checking IDs prior to customers checking out at the register. And general community safety. We have an overall commitment to the well-being of the community. It's in our benefit for the neighborhood for crime reduction in the neighborhood, because that will lead to more customers being comfortable enough to come through the area. We feel that, we can help provide some additional community safety. We can be a voice to the property owners. We can be the voice to local politicians. We can be the voice to local nonprofits. We can help address the situations and the safety concerns that are currently happening in the neighborhood. Access to public transit. So MBTA bus route 16 is available at the intersection of Trumbull Street. It's about a 10-minute walk to the Andrew Square MBTA train. Our on-site loading area. So we have the loading area that will be off street. So we're not going to be bringing product down the sidewalk and through the front door. But we're able to safely and securely load marijuana product on the side in a fenced-in area. And so product transportation, the state mandates that all of the couriers that are moving product in and out of marijuana dispensaries are in unmarked vehicles and are, tracked with GPS and security cameras. And transport of monies will be coordinated with companies similar to Brinks, where we will be doing it again during off hours with security in the fenced-in area in the side of the parking lot. Overall parking is a concern in all neighborhoods in Boston. However, the city has no parking restrictions for retail cannabis. In our space, we have roughly 10 parking spots that's shared between the convenience store and the liquor store. So customers really flow in and out rather quickly. The average times for a customer inside of a dispensary is typically 15 to 20 minutes. So customers can flow in and out as well, in and out quickly. Our hiring plan, our starting wages for employees will be roughly $17 an hour for part-time employees, and full-time employees will have benefits, vacation packages and such. Our benefits will include, but not limited to, medical insurance, paid time off, paid holidays. We also provide free training, educational seminars to individuals who meet the criteria. Local hiring and recruitment, we plan to have a minimum of 50% of our employees will be Boston residents, 50% will be women, and 75% of our employees will represent minorities, veterans, peoples with disabilities, and people that fall under the LBGT community. We plan on hosting 2 career fairs per year, and we will be working with Mass Hire, Greater Career Center, to help promote our job openings. So we don't want to just open a business in the neighborhood. We want to hire directly from the neighborhood. In my experience, it's beneficial to have local employees. It's easier for them to get to the facility especially during the inclement weather seasons, such as the wintertime. And they also have a more of a commitment to the business if we hire them close by to where they live. Specific responses to neighborhood concerns. So after our meeting with the Andrew Square Civic Association, we decided that it was necessary for us to have the on-site traffic and exterior coordinator. So essentially it will be somebody that will be standing outside of the facility during the busy hours of the space. And we'll make sure that, again, none of our customers are parking illegally in front of the building, parking illegal, double parking, that, there are no lines queuing down the street. We plan on managing the internal and external traffic flow to make sure that we're not negatively impacting any of the other local businesses in the area. With existing traffic accidents caused by the roadway being a concern for residents, we can commit to emphasizing pedestrian-friendly options available for consumers in our customer outreach efforts. We will also update our peak delivery plan to non-peak delivery times. So essentially product will be delivered on the non-peak hours. And we'll also be promoting to our customer base that, we're right down the street from a train stop or right near a bus stop. We will have a delivery courier that will be able to pick up product from our dispensary and bring it to customers at their residences. We'll make sure that we're not directly negatively impacting the current flow of traffic. Our impact on local and young people. The impact the business would have on young kids would be limited due to the operational hours and fluctuation of customers. So the business operates rather discreetly, not causing too much attention, especially to people under 21. Obviously, by law, we can't allow anyone under the age of 21 into the building. We will make sure that the glass of all of the in front of the dispensary will be frosted so that children can't look into the space and see any cannabis products. We also, again, will make sure that kids aren't even trying to come into the space because we're going to have our on-site traffic coordinator making sure that we're checking IDs prior to folks entering the dispensary space. Our positive community impact. So we're looking to, we're going to be raising roughly $1.3 million, which would be used to build out the retail space. We're going to be doing interior upgrades as well as upgrades to the exterior facade of the building. As you know, the building is in tough condition from an exterior standpoint. It is going to be a priority of ours to make sure that the entire plaza, not just our space, that the entire plaza is brought up to a higher standard. Local job creation. We will be hiring roughly 15 individuals. It will range from part-time to full-time. We'll be offering solid benefits, good starting salaries, as well as career paths and opportunity in the marijuana industry. Our community give back. We're committed to working with community leaders to best determine how our staff, our resources, and our presence can be a positive presence in the community. Essentially what that means is we want to work directly with the Andrew Square Civic Association. We want to work with other nonprofits and local churches in the area to come up with ways that we can give back to the community. We know that the community has needs, and we want to learn what those needs are, and come up with plans of ways that we can try to address them. I'm not going to say that we can solve every problem in the community, but at a minimum, we can put forth an effort to help. We can start with helping by securing our block, cleaning up our block, putting security cameras on our block, and making sure our block is a better place to walk by. And we hope to be a catalyst for change in that area. Our next steps, continued community outreach. We plan on continuing to meet with community members to address any concerns raised from this presentation and to present plans for response. So again, we do want to work directly with the Andrew Square Civic Association and other associations and residents in the neighborhood to try to address some of the problems. We've identified some of the major problems are folks that are hanging out outside the building, throwing alcohol bottles and trash on the ground outside the building. We've seen people passed out drunk outside the building. There are a lot of negatives that are happening right now that once we open and are operational, we will put a stop to that in our area. I've also begun dialogue with the property owner to have them step up their efforts to make sure that people are not consuming alcohol outside the building. And also that the building, itself is from a trash removal standpoint, that the property is kept in a respectable fashion. One of our next steps is to go through the special permitting process. We then have the CCC approval process. We want to establish a direct line of communication with the Andrew Square Civic Association, which would entail one of our members attending their regular meetings. We want to be the ear to listen to their problems and be the voice that communicates to the property owner. And we also want to develop an exterior plan for renovating the exterior of the building with the landlord. The landlord stated that they are planning to do some exterior upgrades. They did submit a building permit about a year ago, they said. And so they haven't really looked into it in a while. And from my discussions with them this week, they're going to be circling back and checking on the status of that building permit. Their plan right now is to put up some vinyl siding across the building. That's a step in the right direction. and I will make sure that I stay engaged with them to make sure that they're moving along with the process to help beautify the plaza. Questions, feedbacks, and comments, you can contact me directly at cbooth@simplicitydispensary.com. I've had some folks already reaching out to me looking for information. I'm readily available. Our team, some of our members are residents of the greater Boston area. One of our business partners routinely is out there working for Lyft, constantly picking up residents, talking to residents, learning about the positives and the negatives of the community. And we want to continue that dialogue. Ultimately, our goal is to open a dispensary and be a part of the community and impact the community in a positive way. We also have some data and links to some research studies that kind of confirm some of the statements I've made in regards to reduction in crime, decline in usage of drugs amongst teens once a dispensary opens in an area, and the gateway drug theory that's in regards to cannabis leading to harder drugs. And so that's my time. Again, my name is Colonel Booth from Simplicity Dispensary, and I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Colonel, for that presentation. We'll now begin the Q&A comment period. To raise your hand, please go to the bottom of the screen to the reaction button and click on the hand. If you're calling in by telephone and have a question, please press *9. I will call on people by the order in which they raise their hands. If you have spoken once and then have a question after you speak, I will call on you after everyone that has not spoken yet has had a chance to ask a question. I will also monitor the chat for questions, but I ask that if possible, you raise your hand to ask a question due to the volume of the people on this call. Please state your name and address before asking a question or giving a comment, and that goes for the chat too. If you could put your name and address in there, that'd be great. You can also send me your questions or comments to anna.white@boston.gov, and that's also in the chat. I also ask that questions and comments be limited to 2 minutes so everyone has a chance to speak. I'll let you know when the 2 minutes are up. I also want to acknowledge that there are representatives from many of our elected officials here tonight, including Anna from Council President Flynn's office, Mary from Councilor Flaherty's office, Tripp from Councilor Murphy's office, Amanda from Councilor Baker's office, and Haley Dillon from Senator Nick Collins's office. If you guys would like to speak now, you can just please raise your hand and we could start with Anna from Council President Flynn's office. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Anna from Council President Flynn's office. The councilor is opposed to the cannabis proposal at this site due to existing public safety concerns, as well as mental and behavioral health issues in the area spilling over from Mass and Cass. We have heard from a number of civic groups, nonprofit organizations, and neighbors, all in opposition to this proposal as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Does anyone from an elected official's office want to go next? I'm trying to see your hands. I don't see them now, but feel free to raise your hand and I will call on you. So we can go, I'm trying to see in the order. Brian Nee, would you like to go first? Can anyone else hear Brian? I cannot. I'm sorry.
No, I couldn't hear him.
No.
Okay, I apologize, Brian. We'll circle back to you. Dan, would you like to go first or go next? Please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Daniel Weber. I live on Vinton Street, right around the corner. I just have a couple questions first. What are the hours of operations?
The hours will be mandated by the BCB. I believe it would be roughly 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., but don't quote me on that. The state and Boston will set our hours. We don't get to, the BCB board will set our hours.
Yeah, is it a lease? Or are you buying the building?
We're currently leasing. We will be leasing the building.
Is this medical or is it recreation only?
Right now, it is recreational only.
I see, like, I think you make good points. Whatever, I see the pros and cons of dispensaries in general, and I think the area could use one. It wouldn't be bad. The only thing I would comment about that area, and I think you touched it, like, people really aren't worried about people smoking marijuana in the streets, people smoking like way worse stuff and trashing the place and hanging out where they shouldn't be hanging out. So I do think that it's plus to bring something different in the area. I just am worried about the pedestrians and the parking. So, and also like kind of like the flow of like the rotary itself, right? And it's just a real tricky corner in like so many different ways. So I would say like someone needs to check out like the more like the pedestrian situation.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things to note, and thank you for your comment and support, is so dispensaries aren't really as busy as they once were, a few years back. You can walk into any dispensary now and you may see, 4 to 5 customers in there at a time. Gone are the days where there's a line out the door, and, so in regards to impacting pedestrians, it will be very minimal. What I think will happen ultimately is a lot of the customers that were normally going into the liquor store will come to us instead. So we won't really anticipate too much of a net increase in traffic, foot traffic or driving traffic. Our hope is that a lot of the customers choose cannabis opposed to alcohol.
I mean, I'm not really sure if you're gonna get that, but I think everyone's gonna say parking. Everyone knows that this area is really not good at parking. So I think just that corner itself is unique in the whole transportation realm. So, and that crosswalk at Vinton Street, like maybe the city could do something, or the crosswalk right at Preble Street. You mean some type of additions and infrastructure improvements, because you can't see people crossing the street sometimes. And before we start building something new or adding something, like maybe kind of fix up what's around there first.
And that's a good point. Like what we want to be able to do is issues like this. We want to be the voice to kind of talk to some of these city councilors and say, what can we do? We're going to be generating. We have to pay about a 3% tax on all sales that goes right to the city of Boston, and we hope that we can direct some of that impact fee money. I hope we can direct it back to the area, to directly benefit that community. And these points that you bring up, just like the Rotary and the crosswalk, these are things that we want to know. We want to learn about this so that we can collectively go to someone and say, hey, this is what is happening and what can we do to help? If we got to pester people or send emails or call, those are the things that we're comfortable doing. We want to be a voice. I'd love to be a voice for you and your concerns and everybody else, and that's one of the things we can do because we are generating a pretty large tax revenue for the city. We hope that our voice will be heard.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Mary from Councilor Flaherty's office. Do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. I'm just going to echo the same thing as Anna said from Councilor Flynn's office. Councilor Flaherty feels the same way. Just where it's located is not a good fit for that kind of establishment. I mean, I like everything the Colonel is saying, but again, I don't believe it's going to be that smoothly. I don't think it's a good location, and neither does the councilor. So I just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Haley from Senator Nick Collins' office. Do you want to go next?
Yes, please. Thank you. Again, my name is Haley from Senator Collins' office. I just wanted, the senator would like to go on record as being opposed to this proposal. This location is steps away from high traffic Rotary, a church, a recovery center, a preschool, a playground. This is not fit for this type of establishment and will only increase problems in this area. There are no benefits to retail cannabis dispensary at this location. Senator Collins stands with the Andrews voters who are opposed and have written letters of.
Thank you, Haley. Tripp from Councilor Murphy's office.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, Anna, for welcoming me on. Again, my name is Trip Graham. I'm from Councilor Murphy's office, and Councilor Murphy would like to go on record being opposed to this project. Anna very much summed it up clearly for Councilor, same reasons about location of it from the park and in proximity to in the neighborhood. Thank you for having me on, and I will be listening as well. And thank you for all that attended.
Amanda from Counselor Baker's office.
Hi, thank you so much. I won't repeat everything else that everybody else has said, but Councilor Baker does want to go on record in opposition to this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The next hand I see is from Dave DeCourcy.
Good evening, guys. My name is Dave DeCourcy. I'm the director of the Divine Recovery Center at 70 Divine Way in South Boston, representing the Gavin Foundation. A substance abuse and mental health treatment provider in South Boston. Our building is located about 500 feet from the proposed location. We have 4 residential programs that frequent the building. Last year alone, we belong to a program called Access to Recovery Services, which is considered, we call it ATR. We service 2,413 people. We see 1,200 people coming from our residential programs, and another 8,000 that come in from the street. We also have a recovery high school in Boston. Between 70 Divine Way, Fourth Presbyterian Church, and St. Monica's Church, and the Ollie School, there is about 30 AANA self-help meetings directly in vision of your building. And our mental health services are on 210 Old Colony Ave in South Boston, and they would actually have to walk by your building to get to their appointments from our building. I know that not everyone that uses marijuana becomes a drug addict, but there's an extremely high concentration in this area of the people that do smoke marijuana and grow to become addicted to worse things. I don't think it's helping the area at all. I don't think the pros don't outweigh the cons in this situation. I mean, St. Monica's Church holds 12 self-help meetings a week, and it's their side door is within 50 feet of your building. Traffic concerns, I mean, I don't know how the Rotary store has a hard enough time right now with traffic the way that it is, just having the liquor store and the regular Rotary store at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's probably the most dangerous Rotary in the state of Massachusetts. We are adamantly opposed. And one second, guys. So yeah, we have a very vulnerable population, both visiting and living directly near the proposed site. Parking concerns children and adolescents in proximity to the housing developments, the daycare at the Ollie School, and the kids playing at Moakley Park. The pot shop would negatively affect some of the thousands of people the Gavin Foundation supports annually. We believe the shop poses more of a risk than a benefit to the people of the area. That's all I got, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. The next hand I see is from the Andrew Square Civic Association.
Anna, I'm going to speak first. We have a few people in the room here, so I'm going to let them go in order as they raise their hand. And the first one was Phyllis. Go right ahead, Phyllis, please.
Hi, my name is Phyllis Corbett, and I live at 229 East Day. And I don't want to reiterate what everybody else has said. There's 2 family developments that all have children. There is a daycare center right on the other side of the Rotary. And actually, my big question is, we have Longwood Police that patrol our development, and all their powers have been taken away from them. You're talking about security. What is your security going to be capable of when the only ones that have power are the Boston Police and State Police? So what kind of security are you going to have if power is taken away from even the Longwood Police that patrol my neighborhood?
Well, in regards to security, I mean, we're limited on what we can do. We can simply have duress alarms, we have blast break alarms, we have cameras, backup notifications. The goal for us is to be able to call the police and get the Boston police on site if there are any issues arise. That's really the
And
extent.
by the
as
time
far as what
they
we
get
can
there,
do.
the same thing, we have shootings that go on over here too. Nemiella McCormick has shootings that go on every other day. This isn't a secure area, even with private police on my development at Old Colony. Their power is taken away from them. The only ones that have power are the Boston police and state police. So you can't guarantee that your police are gonna do any good.
Right, correct. I mean, I can't guarantee that, but what I can do is really just say, reiterate that if there's ever an issue that arises, we can call the police as fast as possible. That's the goal. That's really all we can do. We can't control what.
And when the
police
phone,
do.
and when the phone calls are monitored by the preference as to what's more important, when you've got shootings going on, I don't think their priority is gonna be the pot shops.
Mhm.
Sorry, I oppose it 100% in this neighborhood.
Thank you, Phyllis. Linda, do you have someone next?
Beth?
Beth Bernier, Boston Street. I also oppose this project based on everything that everyone has already said. I have two questions. One, you said you were renting. Do you have an option to buy the property? That's my first question. And my second question is, have you looked at other locations in South Boston that might be a better fit for your business?
So in regards to the purchase of the property, when I approached the landlords originally, they stated they had no desire to sell. But I do have the first right of refusal. If so essentially I do have, if they were to ever be willing to sell, I do have an option to buy it. But at this point, they have no plans of selling the building. And I'm sorry, what was your second question?
My second question is, have you looked at other retail space in South Boston that might be a better fit for your business?
So, we have looked around. This was one of the best spots that we found. I found the spot about 10 months ago. We've had the spot for roughly around that time. This spot is one of the few with any parking. The majority of the spots in around South Boston have zero parking. The fact that this location has around roughly 10 spots is really one of the few spots we found that have any parking. And there are not many locations really for lease that would work for us. We felt like this was the best option.
Well, I disagree with you. I feel like based on the traffic and the safety issues at the Rotary, that needs to be fixed first. And then maybe we can find a solution for a cannabis shop. But right now, the way things are, I'm highly opposed to the location for this business.
Understood.
Anybody else in here want to speak? Patty?
Yeah, I would like to, and it's a statement, not a question. I'm not opposed to cannabis, but it's not the site for it at this location. This should be a safe zone for our children who walk to school at the Ollie, Tanny Head Start, or Perkins. Enjoy after-school programs and summer camp at the First Presbyterian Church, sports activities at Moakley Park, and swimming at Carson Beach. It should be a safe zone for our families and residents to cross the street to attend mass, volunteer, or visit the food bank, watch their kids and grandkids play at the Little League game, especially seniors and persons with disabilities. A safe zone for our residents in recovery who are attending NA and AA meetings, and the many programs offered to them in the Andrews Square area. While the majority of the churches and other locations in South Boston have ceased holding these meetings, St. Monica's and the Fourth Presbyterian Church have picked up the torch to make all our neighbors dealing with substance use disorder stay on the right track. Gavin Foundation and the Need Foundation as well. And a safe zone for, as Linda Zablocki calls them, our people that have recently called the streets of Andrews Square their home and are struggling with homelessness and addiction. If the site were approved for a cannabis shop, it would negatively impact our neighborhood for all of these reasons and more. These storefronts were built many years ago to serve the families of the neighborhood. It's unconscionable that we do not have better and healthier resources there. And it's the gateway to Moakley Park and Carson Beach. We need family-friendly business, not a cannabis shop. Thank you.
I think, one thing to note, I thank you for your statement. In regards to a safe space, we will make that space safe. Currently,
I think we have a difference in opinion on a safe space, so it was just a statement. Thank you.
yes. I mean, in regards to currently, what we see happening outside that space now is not the definition of safe. It is not an area that I would let my children be walking by with the level of the drinking and the things that are happening outside that space right now. I don't think letting the current business that's in there and leaving things the way they are now is best for the future of South Boston.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we don't either, and we have been working towards
We've been working many
finding
years.
better business there.
Many
So we
years.
thank you.
And I
It's
think
not cannabis.
I think you found the better business. You
No,
found the
we
business
don't. I
that-
don't. I'm
Understand.
sorry. I can't help it.
you
This is
found-
very emotional
It
for us.
really is
We have
emotional.
We have put, I'm probably going to say 15 years of work or more into
Mhm.
this area. And I have a couple of comments and then I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
My comments are, you constantly mention that you're putting cameras in and outside. Isn't that the law that you have to have them? So that is mandatory. Is that not correct?
It's mandatory, not around the entire plaza. It would only be around our space. We're putting cameras around the entire plaza. My goal is to help secure the whole block, not just our storefront.
Okay, so that's a few more cameras, but you have to put cameras on the outside is my question.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that you have mentioned today that, because in the last meeting you were making it as 21 and older would not enter the store. And as I made it very perfectly clear, of course, that's against the law. They would shut you down. So it wasn't something of your own accord doing that. My question is, I have 3 or 4 possibly. What are your 4 retail businesses that you are all in on? Oh, the other comment that I have is 10 spots for cars down there. That would make it very tight, especially if you're talking having that opening for your stuff coming in. And this is a question. You talked about a building permit being pulled. Is it just for the repair of the building that is there as is, do you know? And you had mentioned something about how you would work very hard for pedestrian safety. And I just want to make, if David Weber is still on, I think it was David or Dale, one of them. Daniel. We have been working for probably 10 to 12 years with Walk Boston, with Department of Transportation. We have been made promises 3 years in a row, at least 3 years in a row, to get this intersection over here. We were having a meeting one day, we walked outside and a police cruiser was put up in the air by an accident. That's how bad it is over here. We have been working very hard and diligently. If people really want to get involved, come to our meetings. But to make it sound like nothing is being done here irritates me like there's no tomorrow. And fine, if you had a business in there and you wanted to step up to the plate, we have contacted everybody and their mothers. And we still have nothing happening. The city is moving very slow. I don't know if it's financial. We were told the financial money is here, but I want to make it perfectly clear to everybody on this call. We have been working endlessly with this community to get this pedestrian safety, and it's one of the main things of City Council President Flynn is to have pedestrian safety. We have been working endlessly on this, and we do feel that this business down there is just not a good fit. We're not against the business. I voted for this. It just has to be in the right area. This is not the right area. So I'm waiting for, what are the 4 retail businesses and the building permit? The
Sure.
answers on that.
So my business partners can chime in. So I have a dispensary opening in North Grafton in a few
Is it
months.
open yet, or is it opening? It's
It's
definitely
provisionally-
opening?
Yeah, it's provisionally licensed, correct, yeah. It's opening, we're in construction. So we're opening at the end of this year.
Okay. And that's medical or recreational?
That is recreational.
Thank you.
This is Michael Pyers here, a partner in Simplicity. We have 3 provisional licenses for our KG Collective businesses. We're set to open our Cambridge one in September, and we have a provisional license at 1589 Columbus Avenue in Boston, as well as a location in Brockton.
And provisional means that you have been approved. Is that correct? And you're waiting to open?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, provision allows us to essentially initiate construction, raise our funding, and once construction is completed, we have some inspections, and then we can open. So provisional license is one of the hardest steps to achieve in this industry.
So basically, nobody has one open presently, is that correct? You've been approved, but nothing is opened, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
And in regards to the building permit, so I spoke with Jay Dinesh, he's one of the owners. He mentioned that
Patel?
Jay Patel, I'm sorry. He mentioned that they have, I guess they've spoken with you guys at some point in the
I
past.
never spoke with us. I'll make that perfectly clear right now.
You never, okay. Well, that
No.
was, may have misspoke then. He mentioned that they had a building permit submitted. It was over, he said it was over a year ago, which was odd to me that the permit wasn't approved. He stated that he's going to be revisiting that permit situation to get some updates as far as what's going on. They are going to put up the vinyl siding around the entire building. So it was his intention. I'm not sure why it hasn't been done. I'm not sure what has happened. But I know that at minimum, I've spoken to him this week after speaking to you guys. And that he said he's going to look into that permit situation.
Okay, I would like to let you know that we just looked it up online. There is no permit pulled for anything for that property.
There's no permit pulled for vinyl siding on that property? Was there
No
permit
permit.
pulled in the
There was no
last year or two?
Not not on 13, not on 313. Nope.
Okay,
Might want to ask to see these visually.
yes.
Andrew Square Civic, are you done? Did everyone speak from there?
Yep, we're good.
Yep, we're all set here. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you.
If I can
Thank you.
just jump in
Oh, one-
quickly, Anna,
one
I'm
second.
sorry.
Oh, sorry, John.
Not to beat it on a dead horse, but I'm in full agreement with my neighbors. Let me first say I'm on Jenkins Street, direct abutter, small business owner myself, registered with the city of Boston. And I'm in opposition of the location. So I'm in opposition of this application for licensure. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but for all the reasons given already by my neighbors and board members of ASCA, I stand on those grounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew Square Civic Association. Sheila's iPad, would you like to go next?
Okay, there you go. I would love to. Thank you. Colonel, I was reading through your brochure and you've made claims on the following: dispensaries reduce overall alcohol purchases, and 2, marijuana reduces binge alcohol consumption. Where are your evidence-based studies? You used a generalized questionnaire, which you stated just earlier, but that's not scientific.
The
Not
studies
from
we have-
NINA.
Oh,
It's
go
not
ahead.
from
You're
NINA.
still going,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Okay, not from the National Institute on Drug Abuse. They're still really looking at this. And so I have to say, I find your claims are generalized, misleading, and concerning.
So we have a series, it was actually the last slide. We have a series of links with data that backs up the statements that we've made in regards to these myths associated with marijuana use. Like I stated earlier, there are already numerous dispensaries open in Boston. There are dispensaries open all over the state. It wasn't doom and gloom as some people predicted. These dispensaries are highly secure, highly successful businesses. Currently, there's a business in this unit that is not successful. The building is struggling, the businesses are struggling. Marijuana is a recession-proof industry, and a lot of these things that we have stated, we've lived through it, we've seen it, and we have these studies to further reiterate that. What I can do is I'll put my email address in the chat, and I can if you want to email me directly, I can then send you the list of links that we have, and you can take a look and we can have continued discussions on this.
Let me ask just one more question. Are these links, for instance, from the National Institute? Are they from the Boston Commission? Where are they from? I just want to ask quickly because I know there are so many people that want to speak.
Sheila,
mean,
can you
are they
also
all
state your
scientific?
address too, please?
Pardon me?
Can you state your address too, please?
Oh, sure, it's 77 O Street.
Thank you.
Okay, Anna.
So we've posted some of the links here in the chat from routers.com, washington.edu, the Boston Globe. There's a lot of them.
The Boston Globe? Okay.
Drugpolicy.org, cdc.org. You can kind of go through there. We posted a bunch of them in the chat. You can kind of look through those. I don't misstate state facts. You know, this is an issue that comes up often. You know, I've been trying to open dispensaries all over and do marijuana businesses, and this is a common theme that comes up. And as time goes on, we're getting more data. You know, as more dispensaries open, it's leading to more data. And in reality, prohibition doesn't stop marijuana usage. Marijuana usage is already happening in every single community at large. This is just a legal regulated industry. This is to get rid of the street dealers that lead to people buying other drugs. The way that marijuana is handled now is you buy from someone in an unregulated environment. That person may also be selling other unregulated drugs, which is how people get their hands on things of that nature. We want to create a regulated business with state tested product, state secured product, everything under television. I'm sorry, under camera. We want to clean up the marijuana industry. We want to get rid of the black market, which is the real issue here.
And again, that's very generalized and it's not proven, blah, blah, blah. All right, I will look up your links and I will certainly get back to you. I recommend that everybody else do that too. Thanks so much, Colonel. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheila.
Bill Bailey, do you want to go next?
Hi, Anna, thank you. Yeah, just Bill Bailey, I'm from City Point Neighborhood Association. And I just want to thank the Andrew Square Civic Association for keeping the moral compass going for that area and cleaning the area up, Colonel. I think you should really take note of what they're saying. Some of the comments that you did make and some of the claims that you make, I did some research before the meeting, I think, as most of the neighborhood leaders do, is that the National Institute of Health has suggested that a 15% increase in teenage usage of marijuana is actually going on year over year, which is leading into serious drug usage. So I think you're off on that. And I can also back that up with the New England Journal of Medicine and the CDC as well. So people should realize that they say it's not a gateway drug, but what they're finding is that there is additional usage in our high schools that are going on, especially down in the like it's the economically challenged neighborhood. They seem like you're really focusing in on that, where they're in. I think we all know that, like I said, there are challenges going on. There's two housing projects on either side of you. And I find it very strange that that's where you are targeting your business to go on in there. Also, and you know this as well, I'm sure when you did your study, and I'll probably follow up, I'll be looking for an answer for this. When you did your research study for the location, you must have found out that the Mass on Cass, and everybody knows about this, okay? You heard the representative from the Gavin House as well, as they're out there doing heroic work, trying to keep people alive and straight out there. So you're bringing in a cannabis shop into an area where people are already mentally compromised. They're economically compromised. They're very susceptible to going down different paths that cannabis could lead to. And the more journals that I look, medical journals that I look up and studies that I look up, I find that this is a gateway drug, whether you want to say it or not. I'll back it up with any of the journals that I have open in front of me. My biggest question to you is, how can you actually state that this is going to be a benefit when not only down in Andrew Square, but everywhere else, because of the usage down there, the drug usage down there, it overflows to every neighborhood. We have it down here because we get marijuana deliveries down here on our beaches and on our streets, and we deal with people passing out, urinating, and everything else every single night. So it is widespread. This is one of the key ingredients.
Sorry, that's the 2-minute timer. Sorry, thank you.
Anna, you can give me 30 more seconds, thanks.
All right, 30
so
more.
All I'm saying is this happens not just down in that area, because of the delivery factor on this, you're impacting an entire neighborhood. We don't want it at City Point. We don't want it in Andrew Square. It's not good for the neighborhood. We are dead set against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Mary Moore, do you want to go next?
Sure, thank you. My name is Mary Moore. I live at 15 Ward Street in South Boston, and I'd like to start off by showing you some pictures so you can see the sad and depressing reality of what we live with. I'll try to get this right, of what we live with at that location. Show you another one. And remember, these folks are not going to leave just because this cannabis shop might open. They're just going to go around the corner, but this is what we're living with. So the other evening, the applicant met with some members of the Andrews Square Civic Association, and we told him that this is the wrong location for a cannabis shop for lots of reasons, and maybe most important because there are so many kids who walk by. This location may have a 500-foot buffer from a K through 12 school and meet the letter of the law in terms of cannabis regulation, but it fails to meet the spirit of the regulation because there is absolutely no buffer from the kids themselves. And aren't the kids what matter? I have a picture of kids too, somewhere. I want to show you the kids' picture. The applicant said something at that meeting the other evening that really stuck with me. He talked about the upgrades to the building exterior and the fact that Haze Cannabis would keep the sidewalks free and clear of the homeless folks who gather there, which is great. But then the applicant said, and I paraphrase here, therefore, if Haze Cannabis opens for business on that corner, the kids in our neighborhood would at least be better off than they are now. And that really got me. So something better for the kids in our neighborhood is merely a better looking storefront, which the property owner should have been keeping up in better shape anyway. A cannabis shop isn't a better situation for kids because, for one, they can't shop there. That storefront is a premier location, and we've been waiting a long time for a new business to go in there that will lift the sad spirit of our neighborhood. We don't need a business that has a secretive and highly securitized feel to it. We live with secretive behavior and high security all the time because of drugs and homelessness. You know what we need in that location? Something fun, an ice cream shop. How about an ice cream shop or a coffee shop? Our kids and our families, we deserve a business in that location that's open and inviting and welcoming and fun for the whole community, including the kids. And I can't believe I can't find my kids' photo. I have a great picture of kids. We have lots of them in our community, and we want to look out for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Oh, I have the picture. Can I show it?
Yes.
Please. Oh, yes.
Okay, here, can you see this?
Go in a cam.
Go in a camp. Yep.
Can you see? I don't know if it's held up properly. There it is.
There it is, Mary. Thank you.
Okay, you get the point. Thank you.
Dr. Zadi, do you want to go next?
Hi, yes, this is Dr. Zahidi, and I'm a physician, also a condo owner on 45 Vinton Street, and also a resident here. So as a physician, as well as a private citizen, I want to give a different perspective on what's been expressed so far. I want to say that I appreciate the councilors and senators representatives expressing their stance against the proposal due to its location. Unfortunately, I'm not aware of any efforts made by any of these officials in monitoring this corner and ensuring safety of the children playing at the park and families walking to the church. This is the first proposal I'm hearing that is providing any level of security in this area, per elaboration of Andrews Square Civic Association, despite their local efforts to make this area safer. And I'm quoting them when I say, the city has been, quote, moving very slowly. Thus, in the spirit of lack of other options, I believe this private business's potential to provide safety for the area is promising. I appreciate Colonel's inclination to help the community, but even if that is an overreach, at minimum, for preservation of their business, this can offer some level of security to this corner to ensure the safety to these kids that we are also concerned about.
Thank you for the support.
I apologize for pronouncing your name incorrectly. I'm sorry about that.
Not a worry.
Roger, do you want to go next?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
I'm Roger Danchik at 96 Preble. The back door of my house is actually 44 Vinton. I'm directly across from that building. And from that building and the liquor store, I probably have 10 bags of trash in my yard that I cannot pick up because I'm getting more and more disabled. I also have a bunch of people who hang out in front of the house all day, making noise, drinking, and some of them sit on some of my steps, which makes it a little hazardous to go in and out of my house. I do not need potheads around, and it's not because I'm not used to pot. I was a rock and roll roadie for 10 years in my life, and the tour buses were full of it. I'm very much against this. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Lydia, would you like to go next?
Thanks so much. Lydia Pulaski, I'm at 371 Dorchester Street. I was on the previous call where this was proposed, and I was concerned about the economics of it. And the reason why I asked a bunch of questions about, how much gross they were expecting and their profit margins and so forth was I was trying to estimate how many customers we're expecting here. Now, so Colonel, you said 500,000 to 600,000 was that gross per month. And you said that you're constantly playing with, and I'm not done with my question yet. You're constantly playing with those facts and figures because the economy and inflation and so forth. But to be honest with you, I don't think that, you would be in business to be doing this, if there weren't some significant money to be made here, and that's not small dollars. And so I started thinking, are we talking, 200 people a day, 300 a day? Certainly you have a business plan. Certainly you have this answer that would impact like the volume of people in there, the traffic, the parking situation, and that parking lot, the curb cut, it feeds almost directly onto a very dangerous rotary. So you're not far removed from that situation. And it's almost like, another connection point for people to get hit and hurt and, and deal with that. We haven't really had a robust conversation in regards to that specifically yet. So question, I'd like to know the volume of customers per day. Secondly, I'm not convinced that, cannabis is impacted by a recession, that type of product. Previously coffee, liquor, and previously cigarettes, those tend to be a little bit more hardy in terms of recessions and inflation and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and personally put cannabis in that category. I'm saying this is a very robust business, and I'd like to understand the extent of that. Thank you. And by the way, I am opposed to this business. Okay.
Thank you, Lydia. So essentially, based off of some projections, we're anticipating around 15 customers per hour on average. That varies. It's really an estimate based on the population, the surrounding population. 15 customers over a given hour, customers that spend 15 to 20, for lucky 20 customers an hour, that these customers are in and out in say 15 minutes. It is not people that are going to be sitting there for a half hour, 45 minutes. It's similar to when you walk into your local wine and cheese shop. You grab a bottle of wine and some cheese and you go, so this is very similar to that. In regards to increase in traffic, I would say it wouldn't be an increase in traffic. We would be serving the neighborhood that we're in and the folks that do already currently drive by. No one is driving across the city to go to any specific dispensary because dispensaries are located spread out throughout the entire Boston area. This is going to be a local neighborhood dispensary, essentially.
Thank you. I think many things in the chat have been, people have spoken, but I'll read one statement before we get to the next question. It's from JC. I'm all for social equity applicants opening in this city, but this location just isn't it. Many of the representatives that spoke against this location have supported social equity applicants in other locations. This is really just a tough location. There's a reason the current business is in tough shape. It's the location. So that's a statement there. Just again, if you're going to make a statement in the chat, please put your address. Thank you so much. Luann, would you like to go next?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, great. Colonel, a couple of things. I'm listening to you talked throughout the entire presentation, and it's coming back to me that you don't know this area of South Boston very well, and that you're making general statements regarding cannabis versus statements that pertain directly to our community. So that concerns me. When we talk about security, you kind of had to backpedal your statement because you came out saying you'll have cameras, you won't allow people to double park, you won't allow people to loiter. And in reality, you don't have any control over that because the only people that have arresting powers are, in fact, like Phyllis said, the state police and the Boston police. And if you know this area in particular, and or the city of Boston, they are short-staffed. So they have to prioritize their calls. The calls coming from your dispensary would be very low on the priority list of gangbangers, shootings, buzz bikes, and other quality of life issues that are happening in both of those low-income homes on both sides. So that really concerns me. The other thing is, as people have said, the Ollie preschool is directly across the street. And then you have food pantries out of St. Monica's Church. You have AA meetings, NA meetings. So it's kind of dangling the carrot right in front of the rabbit. And yet you're not really understanding that, and you're able to justify that. And that's also concerning. Insofar as parking, those 10 spots, the liquor store itself and the check cashing place, already when people are coming in and out of those establishments, they're jamming traffic on Old Colony Ave because Old Colony Ave is a cut through, okay, in and out of the city. So when people are coming in and out of there, all it's doing is really tying up that traffic again. And if you're saying, 15 customers per hour, and you're looking at a 10-hour day, that's 150 people per hour, if I'm got my calculator on here. So that's a huge influx of people. And I disagree with the statement that these are people that are coming in and out of South Boston anyways. You will be an attraction to people on the beach. You'll be an attraction to being a local delivery service in our community. And I don't see any of that as a plus in the community. Andrew Square has in fact been trying to clean up their
You're at
area.
2 minutes and 40 seconds, Luann.
Okay, give me one more sentence.
Okay.
So Andrew Square has in fact been working diligently to clean up this area. And for this type of an establishment to come into that area would do nothing but deter all of the work that they've done. So I'm against it. I'm the president of the City Point Neighborhood Association, and we stand with our sister association.
Thank you, Luann. I mean, I would say, we wouldn't be anything that would negatively impact the work that Andrew Square has made or has done. I've said time and time again is that we want to work with Andrew Square. We want to try at minimum to help clean up that block. And like I stated in our previous meetings, it starts with one block. If we can successfully clean up our little piece of cement, then it'll push, we'll have, and hopefully the neighbors will want to do the same things and help extend that. We can't, like we said, we can't police the neighborhood. We are not law enforcement, but we can call just like you guys call. We can at least make an attempt, because right now, in regards to what's happening with the businesses inside that space, they seem to be open and okay with business as usual, with people hanging out outside of the space, laying, drinking, all of that. It seems that it's acceptable and allowed with the current business owners in that space. So for us to come in as a new business owner, those are things that, we'll be out there constantly talking to the people out there. We're going to have cameras right there. A lot of people aren't going to want to be doing drugs or drinking right in front of a camera. We like I said, we have 90 days of security footage on that camera. If there's ever any incidents out there, that camera footage gets sent right to the Boston Police Department. Some of these things that we can do legally are going to be a benefit, I completely disagree with the fact that we would be a negative. Adding security at a minimum is a positive. We all have security on our homes. We have cameras in our homes. We also have locks. At a minimum, it helps increase, decrease the likelihood of crime happening in that immediate vicinity.
Thank you. And it would be great if you brought in a different product and cleaned up the area. That would be great. Something that doesn't negatively impact the neighborhood. But thank you.
Thank you, Luann.
I'm going to read 2 questions or statements from the chat, and then we'll go back to the Andrew Square Civic Association. The first is from Maria. I live on Preble Street and highly oppose the opening of this dispensary. How can a dispensary open right in front of St. Monica's, where critical substance abuse programs are being offered as a vital lifeline service for our community members, not in our neighborhood? And then the second is from Agnes. I'm not able to speak up as she's in a bad internet location. She'd like to voice her opposition. I live on Ward Street and oppose any additional drug activities in my neighborhood. We have enough heroin addicts coming by already, and neither the mayor or police are doing anything to improve this. So I do not want any additional drug-related activities. Thanks. The proposed location is next door to a church and to a park where there are lots of kids. Thank you. Okay, thank you for those statements. Andrew Square Civic, we can go back to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry to take more than my fair share of the time, but one aggravating concern that I have, and if you would allow me to share my screen to illustrate this point.
You can, John.
My question or my concern is this. Colonel Booth, you have multiple partners under the Haze of South Boston LLC. You are listed as the only officer. Why are there none of the partners listed in this corporation? Also, did you have the owner's consent and permission to use the 309 Old Colony Ave address to register your corporation out of some 7 months back, January 4th, 2022? So 2 questions. Owner's permission setting up this corporation at that address, and why are none of the partners listed as officers of this corporation?
Sure. So first off, the LLC was formed. This was formed a while back, prior to me bringing in the entire group. The ownership of any LLC is ratified through an operating agreement or corporate bylaws. That is what defines who owns a company. Just being a manager on an LLC doesn't give you ownership from a legal standpoint. So internally, we have our own operating agreements that we're working through that will ratify my business partner's equity in the business here. And in regards to the address, we have a lease on the space. I have the right to register the business at that address due to the lease we have and the monthly rent that I'm paying.
They said they were paying rent. May I say something?
I'm paying rent for the pizza shop
Yeah.
location right now.
Can you stop screen sharing, please? Thank you. And yes, Linda, was that you who wanted to say something?
Yeah, that was the same question that the Colonel just answered, that he's paying rent on it. So I don't know if that's considered the lease, that he's paying rent on the pizza shop, which is closed now and nobody's in there. So I don't know what's going on, but very cloudy situation.
Thank you. Let me look through the chat again. I see all the links that was posted. Haley from Senator Collins's office also posted her statement there because her internet connection was shaky. Dan is saying we need any security they can offer us because the city hasn't done anything. Luann is saying, Colonel, people who are fighting addiction don't care if they're on camera. And I think that might be all of the statements in the chat or the questions right now. I'm scrolling through right now. Does anyone have any further questions or comments as I look through the chat? There's a comment from Ellen. Ellen, if you could leave your address, that would be great. I'm sure the current owners wouldn't agree they're okay with the status quo. They are not the problem. This location is the problem. It just is what it is. Please respect all the work being done to improve it. Improve the area. All right. we can give it a few more seconds to see if there are any more hands or any more questions in the chat. I know it can take a few seconds to type. My email address again is anna.white@boston.gov. If you think of any additional questions or comments, please send them to me. But if that is all, which I think it is, I'm not seeing anything else. I see the Colonel has put his email address in the chat. I'm putting mine in right now. But thank you all so much for taking time tonight and joining us. Have a great night. My email address I think is going in right now. Yes, anna.white@boston.gov.
Sheila had a good comment.
Oh, sorry, Sheila's iPad says I went through the links and all the links are quoted from Marijuana Movement. So, but all the links are in the chat if anyone wants to look at them, and they were also in the presentation. All right, well, thank you all so much for.
Just to add really quickly, not all of them are from Marijuana Moment. That might be the referring link or one of the referring links, but not all of them overall are from Marijuana Moment.
Thank you, Marcus. All right, with that, everyone have a very good night. Thank you also for joining us. This was the abutters meeting for 313 Old Colony Avenue, Haze of South Boston, which would open as Simplicity Dispensary. All right, thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you.